My wife was a lot younger than me, and she had a tween son when we met. Her ex had shared custody. I had a couple of grown children from my first wife. She passed away from cancer. My stepson Charlie and I never really bonded. He had a father, and he made it clear that I wasn't his parent, just his mom's husband. I respected this. He was always polite and respectful, just distant. I helped pay for his university when he went, and we attended his graduation. When he got married, our invitation was made out to his mother plus one. That was kind of a slap in the face, but we still attended and gave them a substantial cash gift to start their life. Unfortunately, the thank you card didn't even have my name on it. Later, my wife passed away from a stroke. She was 49. I didn't realize how much I loved her until she died. Charlie came to the funeral with his family, his wife, whom I had only met at the wedding, and his kids. We had known he had kids, but he never made an effort to bring them for a visit. My wife loved the kids, but Charlie wouldn't make an effort to come and see us. My wife only had a very small estate, and she left it all to Charlie. He also took almost everything of sentimental value that she owned before we got married. I didn't begrudge him any of it. My first grandchild just graduated cum laude last year, and I went to his graduation. My son and his wife have worked hard to get their kids into college, and I'm proud of them. My son mentioned that my grandson had a job waiting and would be debt-free pretty quickly. I asked how much he owed. Then I wrote him a check to pay it off. I plan to do this for all my grandchildren. I guess my daughter-in-law and my stepson's wife are Facebook friends. He found out what I did, and he asked if I plan to do the same for his children. I don't really have any connections to his kids. I don't see them. They don't consider me their grandfather. I personally only ever seen them at the funeral. I was really put off by him coming to ask about money after ignoring me for years. I know that if my wife were alive, she'd want me to help her son out. It just felt dirty. I said that I had the money for them in my will, and that if they needed it for university, I would give it to them early. He said I'm a petty little man, and his mom would be ashamed of me for treating his kids like this. I don't really think I owe them anything. They have a real grandfather. I'm only including them in my will for my wife's sake. So, am I the idiot? Not the idiot. You don't owe them anything, and it's very telling that Charlie wants no relationship with you except when it comes to money. He and his wife have already inherited under your wife's estate. In my opinion, you're not obligated to include them in your estate. I feel you've been more than generous in your treatment of the stepson. For the stepson to try and shame you and call you petty is shameful. Your decision, but I would cut this parasite out of my life and never look back. They have a biological grandfather that could meet their needs. Are your biological grandchildren going to have 3 grandfathers leaving them money? I suspect not. So why should your step-grandchildren get what would be a bonus inheritance, in addition to the inheritance they'll receive from their father and mother's parents, and in addition to the inheritance they've already received from your wife? Basically, you're not treating your own grandchildren fairly. Time to change your will. Sir, with all due respect, you would be nuts to give them anything. Unappreciative idiot, her son is. I barely got past the part where your name was left off of the thank you card without blowing a gasket. Your wife would be proud of you for not being taken advantage of by someone who only wants to use you. Disagree. You are the idiot. Every child this woman has would have hated you. She was young. She would have made money to inherit from her grandkids if she hadn't spent her life caring for you. Instead, you stole the youth and life that were supposed to build her life for her children and grandchildren because you were selfish. That really stood out to me too, that he liked her youth and didn't realize he loved her until she died. Is everyone just skipping over that? That's probably something Charlie could have picked up on growing up, and that's why he was always distant. So, I'm a guy, and I recently proposed to my fiance about midway through December. We agreed to announce the engagement at the family Christmas party. My sister and her husband, who are both a couple of years older than me, are also there. My sister and I have generally always gotten along, and although her husband can tend to come off a little rude at times, he's never an outright idiot. So we do a little gift exchange, and at the end of it, My fiance and I decide to make our announcement. So I say my piece and everyone's excited about it. It was a nice moment that I was proud to have. Then my sister stands and holds up an unopened gift for our mother. Mom opens it, and it's a framed ultrasound image showing that my sister's pregnant, about a month along. It's a happy moment and I was happy to share it, but the pregnancy was all anyone talked about for the rest of the day and the days after that. They had completely forgotten about my fiance and me being engaged. I felt like my fiance had been cast aside. I didn't want to cause a scene at the party because I was happy for my sister. Then every day of the following week, all anyone wanted to talk about was the baby. Finally, New Year's Eve came along. The party we have for that switches host every year, and it's my sister's house this time. My fiance didn't want to go to that party because she felt uncomfortable. So I called them, and my brother-in-law answered. He asked me what was up, and I told him we wouldn't be able to make it. He tried to change my mind, saying, "You and your girlfriend can come along," like he had forgotten or hadn't even acknowledged that we were engaged. I reminded him of our engagement, to which he said he couldn't have known since everyone was so excited about the baby. I hung up on him then and just tried to move on from it. Then my sister called and asked me why I was upset about her baby. I told her I wasn't upset about it. I said it hurt when our family seemed to care more about her baby, to the point that my fiance and I being engaged may as well not even happened because no one acknowledged it. She told me to grow up and said it was selfish of me to avoid coming to a party because I was jealous of her happiness. I said that it wasn't that I was jealous. Like I said, I'm happy for her that she's having a baby. But while she's taking a step in her life, I'm also taking a step in my life. I'm engaged to a woman I love, and I'm prepared to spend the rest of my life with. And it feels like no one's even acknowledged or respected that. Afterwards, she said I was being dramatic, and that people would be more than happy to care about it when the wedding happened. Then she said I should quit whining and come to the party. I told her that I didn't want to go to a party hosted by someone who wouldn't be as happy for me as I was for her, and I hung up. Am I overreacting? You are the idiot. Your sister made no effort to overshadow your engagement. She had the framed ultrasound wrapped up as a gift before you even made your announcement in front of the family. The overshadowing was just your family's naturally greater excitement over the pregnancy. You've got no right to be salty over this. Grow up and be happy for your sister. Disagree. How your brother-in-law responded when OP called him makes them the idiots. You are not the idiot. Christmas may have felt like you got tossed to the side after your sister's announcement, and I'm sorry that was your experience for you and your fiancé. I appreciate that you decided to just call to decline the New Year's invite rather than making a huge dramatic issue. Your sister and brother-in-law are idiots for their response. An engagement is a huge life-changing event, just like a new baby, which shouldn't be dismissed. Congrats on your engagement. My girlfriend makes 6 figures as a pharmacist and is still the cheapest person I know. She recently bought a new Toyota RAV4 and wanted the bars above to mount her skis. They quoted her $2,000, and she decided not to get it, even though she really wanted it. She spent about 4 months drooling over a handbag that cost about $600. She used a tattered bag from college and said she needed one, but couldn't bring herself to buy one. I bought it for her for Christmas, and when I gave it to her, she got mad at me for wasting money. She did apologize after, saying she loves it, but $600 is too much to spend on a bag. She never wants to eat out, like at all. I usually eat out 2 to 3 times a week, but it's hard to get her to eat out even once a month. She always says she can make the same thing for cheaper and will only eat out after some pleading from me. She doesn't tip very high either, only 15% usually. She only drives when there are a few things to do. For example, for her to come over, she always drops off mail, buys things, and goes to the gym on the same trip to save gas. I'm sure it's eco-friendly, but it's annoying because I'm home at 5 and she can't get there until 6:30, and we only have 2 to 3 hours together. She won't ever buy coffee and even brings her own coffee maker kit rather than just buy coffee for road trips. And she won't buy bread or oat milk. She insists on making it to save money, even though it takes so long. She also only tends to buy things on sale. She saw a very beautiful dress but refused to buy it because it wasn't at least 50% off. When we moved in together, she refused to buy things at IKEA, and we bought everything on Facebook Marketplace. I save money too, but I'd rather get new things because it's just gross to use someone's leftovers. This weekend, my brother's coming to town, and I told my girlfriend we should go to the trendy restaurant to celebrate. She responded that we should just eat in and that she could make Japanese curry the way my brother liked. I told her to stop being so cheap. We barely eat out anyway, and if she doesn't want to pay, I will. She got mad and accused me of being an idiot and refused to talk to me since. You are the idiot. Your girlfriend is being frugal, not cheap. She isn't spending money on things that she doesn't think are worth it. She isn't skimping on necessities or making life difficult. She's just choosing to live in a way where she can save, and I presume invest more. Believe it or not, this is how many well-off/wealthy people get to where they are. They save and invest more than they spend. You have two options. Either accept her for how she chooses to spend and save, or reconsider this relationship because her spending choices likely won't change drastically in the future. How come it's not okay for OP to call the girlfriend cheap for not spending money because she's just frugal, accept how she is, but it's okay for her to get mad at OP for spending his own money how he sees fit? He's the idiot because he said to her the same thing she has said to him earlier, but reversed. At worst, this should be everybody's the idiot here. I don't see any reason for OP to be an idiot here if the girlfriend isn't one also. Yeah, so his brother's celebratory dinner isn't worth it? Honestly, she sounds exhausting and cheap. Like, I get frugal, but this is over the top. Was your girlfriend raised in a really poor household? Seems rooted in a little trauma. That was my thought exactly. I have a friend in a similar position with his girlfriend. They both make six figures, but she makes twice as much as he does. So they're both pretty stable financially, with her being the major breadwinner, his words. But she grew up in poverty, and her parents and other family members don't have any savings. And he said her biggest fear is ending up like them. So she'll nickel and dime everything, even though they don't really have to. My friend is aware of it and has adjusted, and they've made compromises. OP needs to decide whether he's willing to do so as well, or just part ways so they can each find someone that shares the same lifestyle. I, female 33, am an interior designer. My wife, 35, is a doctor. Every few weeks, some friends of hers from the hospital and their spouses gather in a restaurant, and we all have a meal together and talk. I've been attending these meetings from the very beginning. My wife is very interested in her job, so much so that literally, our two young kids have a pretty solid understanding of neuroanatomy, thanks to her. So she loves to talk about her work. Her friends are mostly similar. So whenever we gather for this meal, there's only medical talk, and I feel extremely left out. Her friends' spouses are all healthcare workers. I've tried to actively change the topic a few times, but this has almost always immediately come back to something that happened in the hospital or something someone said there. There's going to be a gathering again next week with the same people attending. When my wife asked me to call the sitter, I told her I didn't want to go and explained why. She tried to change my mind but wasn't successful. She said that it was a couples thing and that as her wife, I should be there. I didn't want to. So she said she wouldn't attend alone since everyone went with their spouse, and there was no way she was going without me. I told her she should not miss this opportunity to spend time with her friends, but she isn't having it. I can tell that she's upset. I have this horrible feeling that I've ruined her time with her friends, and I feel like a terrible person. Did I do something wrong? Not the idiot. I'm a doctor myself, and I totally understand how frustrating it is when any group of people are all in the same field and won't stop talking about work. And you're the odd one out. It doesn't sound like any of them, including your wife, has made any effort to make you feel included in the conversations. People who are in medicine can and should talk about other things. I'm marrying a doctor. I've been with his friends in the same field, and sometimes they just can't stop talking about work. I just keep asking questions about the backstory to low-key annoy them, and they end up stopping or realizing they're talking about work too much. And then the results for the metabolic panel. Me, very innocently. I'm sorry, what's a metabolic panel? Works like a charm for any industry. You are the idiot. I know it's boring and you just got tired of it. But look at her perspective. If she suddenly starts coming without you, what will she say? Marriage is a give and take. You need to stop being selfish and step up for your wife. You can muster up the energy to support your wife for a few hours every few weeks. This is an unbelievably stupid argument, not even based on a real situation or one that's likely ever to happen. I'm a 37-year-old male and my wife is 35. My wife asked me if there was ever a situation in which she and our 2 kids, who are a kindergartner and a little older, were in danger, who would I save first? I told her right from the bait that it was a stupid question to ask, and I didn't want to keep talking about it. But she kept pushing and pushing for an answer, so I just said out of instinct, I'd save the kids first. She then got really irritated asking, well, what about me? I reiterated how stupid her question was and that there was no point in talking about it. But again, she wouldn't shut up. So ultimately, I just said to her out of annoyance that in any scenario, I'd save the kids first, then go back for her, and that I'd hope she'd do the same, considering the kids always come first. Well, now she's angry at me over some fake scenario, all because I said I'd save the kids over her. She says I'm an idiot for being unfeeling and callous, and that I'm belittling her for calling the question stupid. And she's gone on the defensive, basically saying I'm calling her stupid. She's been snappy, not really talking to me, and is in general just being argumentative. Am I the idiot? Oh dear, you fell victim to one of the classic blunders. The most famous is, never get involved in a land war in Asia, but only slightly less well known, never answer a wife's hypothetical questions. To add to the Princess Bride sentiment, he should have yelled, as you wish, and barreled out of the room. She'd be too confused to be angry. OP was bound to lose the moment she opened her mouth. Let the toddler throw her tantrum. If she wants to get mad at a situation she caused, that's her business. Would you love me if I was a worm? It's the same trap as, do I look fatter? I always tell my wife, don't ask the questions you really don't want the answer to. Secondly, your wife is a grown adult, or is supposed to be. Can't she figure out how to help herself out while you rescue the kids? Or is she the type to be frozen by this hypothetical situation? Or honestly, do answer the question and answer it correctly. This was the right response. I have an infant, and my husband and I have both openly said that we would save our baby over each other without hesitation if that situation ever arose. How would the wife have felt if he said he'd save her over the kids? Or maybe go back and ask her what she would do. I bet her answer is the same as yours.